Good morning, everyone. Okay, so today is 30th May 2022. As it is Monday, let's have some Monday motivation. So today's story is bamboo and fern. Okay, so we all know about these trees. Okay, so the story goes like that. There was one person and he is very much frustrated in life. So he wanted to quit everything in the life. Okay, so he quit the job, he quit the relationship, he wanted to quit the life also. But one last time he wanted to ask one question to the God. So he went into the forest and asked the God that give me one reason that why I should not quit the life. Okay, and the God politely replies that do you look around and find the trees of bamboo and fern? So the person says, yes, there are trees of bamboo and fern. Okay, so when I did not quit on these plants, so what God says here explaining this situation, that he said that I first planted both trees, fern as well as bamboo. Okay, seeds of these two. Then I started nourishing them, nurturing them, I watered them, and the fern plant immediately flourished within months. But bamboo tree in first year did not have any kind of, we can say, the flowering, or it did not come above the ground. Okay, but the God said I did not demotivated, rather I continued my efforts, I did not quit. Okay, later I also we can say nurtured both the plants, and the fern again flourished a lot and covered most of the ground on the forest. But still up to third or fourth year the bamboo tree did not come above the ground. The God said I still did not quit and continued nurturing that seed. Okay, and in the fifth year suddenly the bamboo plant came above the surface of the earth, and within 6 months its growth was reached to 100 feet. Okay, so what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story that the outcome was not there, still the God had trust, had belief that there will be some kind of growth of bamboo tree in future. So that means we should continue putting efforts without expecting the outcome. Okay, we should not quit, because whatever the efforts we are putting in, that is strengthening our roots. 4 years when the God was nurturing bamboo plant, so the tree was strengthening its strong roots, so that in future it can withstand its tall, we can say, tree. Okay, so the same thing the God says to the person, whatever the efforts you are putting in, that will help you strengthen your foundation, your roots, and you will rise at some point of time. Your time will come. Okay, so it is also applied to all of you. There will be failure, there may be points of ups and downs in your preparation stage. So what you should always keep in mind is you should keep continuing putting efforts. ठीक है, efforts कम नहीं होने चाहिए आपके, कुछ भी हो जाए. ठीक है, so ultimately your time will also come. Fine? Okay, yes. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Some good articles are there. Look at the first page. Center retracts caution on Aadhaar photocopies. Okay, so yesterday or day before yesterday there was one notification by Aadhaar authority, UADI. Okay, so Unique Identification Authority of India. That notification was related to protecting the Aadhaar card, not sharing the details of Aadhaar copy with any private companies or organization. Okay, now it has let's say government has retracted that notification and said that there is nothing to worry about safety of data. Okay, no one can access data without biometrics of that person. Okay, so that is fine, you should be knowing. Now there is one let's say small point there. What is mask Aadhaar? Okay, so mask Aadhaar is also, we can say, it can be downloaded from the website, and it is basically covering of first 8 digits of your Aadhaar card and only last 4 will be visible. So many times when you are using Aadhaar, you give your details, so they give the masked Aadhaar card. हम यूपीएससी का भी या कोई भी आप फॉर्म भरते हैं तो आप फिलअप करने के बाद वो पहले 8 डिजिट कवर हो जाते हैं, वो दिखेगा नहीं किसी को भी, ठीक है. तो सेम इज द केस, इट इज मास्क आधार. वी नो गुजरात टाइटंस वन द आईपीएल, मेडन आईपीएल, ठीक है. यस, नाउ मूविंग ऑन, कम टू पेज नंबर 6, एडिटोरियल पेज. लीड आर्टिकल, द रिटर्न ऑफ ग्रेट power rivalries. Very good article. Why I am saying very good? Because the novel aspect is covered here. So we know that the Ukraine war is going on. The article or the writer is relating the present power rivalries in Europe to 20th century scenario. Okay, the early 20th century, when the Germany was showing its, let's say, power, the economic and industrial power, and it wanted to reach to the other colonial powers in the race of the let's say having more and more colonies. So that thing is compared here with Russia. So 20th century Germany is compared with 21st century Russia. Now there can be question in, first of all, GS1 world history is there. So World War I, World War II, all this unification of Germany and all these things are there. And in GS2 paper IR section, the present day power situation, or we can say international relations, the politics that is there in Europe. So you should be preparing this from GS1 as well as GS2 paper. ठीक है, history and IR section. Now on left hand side, absolution. So Aryan Khan case. So he was released along with some of the members who were arrested, and the charges were there regarding, we can say, narcotic substances found with them. Now this article is not only discussing that part, but in second part it is also talking that there is need of law to compensate for unlawful arrest as a statutory right. At present in India there is no such, let's say, statutory right to the person who has been falsely implicated for compensation purpose to that person. So in the second part this idea is mentioned. Law Commission has also recommended that there should be such statutory provision. So GS2 paper polity part. On right hand side, deepening strategic commitment, on page number 7. Rajiv Bhatia, he writes very good article related to IR section. Okay, so yes, the outcome of Quad meeting that recently, Quad summit that has happened in Tokyo recently. So earlier we have discussed, but new aspects are also there. Some analytical aspects are mentioned here in this article, because the article also does the critical analysis, limitations of Quad also. Okay, so GS2 paper IR section. Yes, on page number 8, reservation in public employment. It will be kind of revision to you, all the history of reservation in India, since we can say that Mandal Commission and all, there onwards, important cases, judgments, Supreme Court judgments, the government decisions, all these are mentioned here. Everyone should read this article by themselves also. We will discuss in this lecture, but you yourself also should read this, because it is important for GS2 paper polity part, also those having public administration and PSIR option subject. On bottom side, Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh enclave. Okay. Last year it was in news because there was full-fledged military conflict. The tensions happened between Azerbaijan and Armenia. That time we covered this. This Nagorno-Karabakh is the disputed area between these erstwhile Soviet nations, Azerbaijan and Armenia. Okay, so later on Russia intervened and tried to solve this dispute and establish peace here. Yes, what you should do is you should find out the location of Nagorno-Karabakh region. Yes, so you can Google it, although we have covered last year, but it is not that much in news at present. So UPSC may not ask, but it is in Caucasus Mountains region. Okay, the location between Black Sea and Caspian Sea.
Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan.
Yes, so between Black Sea and Caspian Sea. So find out the location of Nagorno-Karabakh region. If you type this and just simply location or image, you will find the map. Okay. Yes, on page number 12, monsoon sets in over Kerala. Geography perspective, you should be having follow-up. Okay, so again there is one article, US becomes India's biggest trading partner at $119 billion. So it has crossed China. This is also important development. There can be question in prelims also, economy section. Okay, GS 3 part also and prelims also, economy section. So the amount of imports and exports vis-a-vis China. ठीक है, तो यूएस और चाइना को कंपेयर करके आपको तो रेडी रखना ही है. इट ऑल्सो शोज दैट हाउ इंडियाज रिलेशंस विथ यूएस आर इंक्रीजिंग, इकोनॉमिक रिलेशंस. ओके, फाइन. सो लेट अस डिस्कस नाउ इन डिटेल the return of great power rivalries. Yes, so this article, context, Ukraine war is going on. So of course the writer is invoking new idea here, new we can say aspect. Up till now no article has covered this, comparing 20th century Germany with present day Russia. There are some similarities between events in Europe today and what happened in late 19th and early 20th century. So in world history we learn about, as a precursor to World War I, what was happening is Germany, earlier it was called as Prussia. The German speaking people together, the province that was called as Prussia, and Bismarck in late 19th century became the Chancellor of Prussia, and he started consolidating this country and reorganized it as Germany in the early 20th century. Okay, so Bismarck is called as architect of modern Germany. Okay, he first of all focused on, we can say, making Germany internally strong. How? Through economic consolidation. Okay, so it became first the economic and industrial power, and then it started expanding its boundaries. Okay, so now the emerging Germany was, let's say, looked at as a threat by the surrounding countries, especially France and UK. In early 20th century, the Russia was already facing the problem. Japan had defeated Russia. Okay, so it was already facing problem, and on the western front, UK and France was, we can say, concerned about the security situation, and they started aligning with each other. This alignment further threatened Germany. Okay, and that led to form the grouping triple entity UK, France, Russia. UK, France, Russia, and triple alliance. Germany, Italy, and what was the third one? Austria. Hungary, Austria. Together it formed the triple alliance. Okay, so Germany, Italy, Austria, Hungary. Austria, Hungary was first together, one country. Okay, so this formed the triple alliance, and this formed the triple entity that led to World War I in 1914. Okay, so that means the emergence of Germany, which proved a threat to other countries in Europe, this changed the power, we can say, balance in the Europe in the early 20th century. Okay, now we should know that when the Bismarck started consolidating Germany, Germany was, you know, industrially backward. It was not having strong economy, strong military, and he started consolidating it. Present day Russia, we will relate this to present day Russia. ये आपको आना चाहिए लिखने के लिए. Present day Russian leader, he came to power in 2000. Vladimir Putin. Okay, and when he came into power, Russia was, we can say, already there was USSR disintegration in 1990s, and its economy was falling down, currency was weak, and industry was again facing problem, international trade, it had many sanctions and all these things. Okay, so it had lost the industrial and mineral rich region like Ukraine. Okay, so because of that, this weak Russia was, we can say, adopted by Putin as a leader at that time, and he started consolidating first. He focused on economy and military aspect. He started consolidating economy and military aspect internally first, and then he started expanding borders. For example, you can give the example of Crimea Peninsula, annexation of Crimean Peninsula 2014. You can give the example of present Ukraine war. Okay, so similarity is there between the leaders, between the countries, and the power balance that is changing here. Now, the offensive realism. What is meaning of offensive realism? PSR optional.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
One is a defensive realism, which we are maintaining our security. But in offensive realism, we are going ahead, one step ahead,
And
improving our military capability.
one is established power and other is revision power. Established power and revision power. Revision power is basically that country which tries to seek revision of the established order. Like for example, present day Russia, China, okay, they are revision power, and established power we can see US. Now these countries, according to this offensive realism, these countries will try to use military power for revisioning of power balance.
Attack is the best defense.
Attack is the best defense. So they will use the offensive, like presently Ukraine war. Okay, or like China is provoking military wise some of the nations in Southeast Asia. Okay, so that is revision power or revisionist power we call them. Okay, while the established power will try to have, or we can say protect its hegemony. It will try to protect its hegemony or its power, and for that purpose also it will use offensive. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे क्या कर रहा है, ये चेंज करने के लिए यूज कर रहा है, ये स्टेटस को मेंटेन करने के लिए कर रहा है. ओके, सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज ऑफेंसिव रियलिज्म, एंड दैट इज at work at present. US leading the NATO, and here China Russia axis. Okay, then security competition. Yes, we all know that at present, or each and every country is concerned about its security. Russia at present is concerned about its security. It gives this reason, right? It is threatened because of NATO's presence along its boundary. Basically, both of these are threatened, let's say, because of each other. At present, Russia is invading Ukraine. It wants to, expand its territory and create some kind of buffer. Some kind of buffer. At the same time, here NATO is also trying to establish security cover to its allies against Russia. This security competition is basically leading to all these conflicts. Like for example, now because of security concerns, Sweden and Finland is applying for entering into NATO. This is also aspect, है ना? So security competition is going on, and because of that these conflicts are happening. Ultimately what we can say is there will not be peace in Europe unless either Russia accepts its diminished role and goes into another spell of strategic retreat, Europe and the West in general accommodate Russia's security concern. Now both are difficult things, that's why the war is still continued. Okay, so unrealistic, दोनों भी unrealistic दिखते हैं, that's why it is still continued. This is the situation. There can be question like this, simply, do you think that there are similarities between events in Europe today and what happened in the late 19th and early 20th century? यहाँ पे give justification to your view होना चाहिए. Okay, so such kind of question can be asked. Whatever we have discussed, you can write relation Germany in early 19th and late 19th and early 20th century and present day Russia in 21st century. Reservation in public employment. Yes, basics you should know. Article 15, Article 16. Article 15 says that the state will not discriminate against anyone on the specific, on only we can say grounds of, there are many grounds mentioned, the sex, place of origin, at the same time the race, caste and all these things, religion are mentioned. Now Article 16 is talking about that government or state will not discriminate anyone in public employment. So we are talking reservation in public employment. So Article 16 is concerned. Okay. Now Article 16(1) provision provides for, let's say, non-discrimination in public employment. But later on, not in original constitution, but later on through certain amendments, Article 16 clause 4 and clause 4A were added. And these two provides for reservation as positive action so as to ensure socio-economic justice to the backward sections of society. Now we should be very much clear. Okay, so reservation is not fundamental right under Indian Constitution. Okay, what fundamental right says is under Article 16(1) clause. That is fundamental right. What is given in these two is not the fundamental right, that is reservation. From time to time Supreme Court has made this clear. Okay, then Mandal Storm and Indra Sani case. So we learn this in M. Laxmikant polity part, prelims as well as mains examination. So Mandal Commission was, let's say, given, this is second backward class commission. Okay, so it gave report in 1980. It was let's say established by जनता गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है, तो जब 1977 में पावर में आया था. So it gave report and it gave recommendation for 27% of reservation to OBCs. Then VP Singh government in 1980s tried to implement this. Then came the Indra Sani case. 1992. Supreme Court 9-judge bench, Constitution bench. Okay, and this particular bench had clearly, we can say that it upheld the provision of 27% reservation. You should know that VP Singh government at that time also tried to implement 10% of economically weaker sections quota, and that was struck down through this Indra Sani case judgment. Okay, so it had upheld this 27% reservation as long as it is within the limit of overall 50%. So earlier there was 22.5 15% reservation to SC ST. Okay, so 15% to SC community, 7.5% to ST community. This was reservation in public employment, and further 27% was added. So it was expected that it is not more than 50%. This criteria was clearly mentioned, and therefore fundamental rights under Article 14, equality before law, equal protection law, was upheld. Then next is Constitution, 77th Constitutional Amendment Act 1995. Now this, you should know that Constitution does not provide for reservation in promotion. Originally it did not provide for reservation in promotion, but through this amendment, 77th Constitutional Amendment Act, this Article 16 clause 4A was added, and which provided for reservation in promotions. It provided for reservation in promotions. Okay, so for SC ST community, whenever, let's say, their representation government finds that inadequate in the public services. Okay, now what happened here is later on M. Nagaraj judgment. This was also watershed moment, M. Nagaraj case 2006. Now what Supreme Court has said here is that it said that there should be socio-economic census of SC and ST community for reservation. First thing, this the appropriate data criteria should be there with the government so as to provide the reservation. Second thing, it extended the idea of creamy layer to SC ST also. To SC ST also. This was, that's why we can say it was watershed moment. But later on, to review this judgment, Supreme Court in Jarnail Singh case 2018, again the Constitution bench, it reviewed this earlier we can say Supreme Court verdict, and it said that there is no need of socio-economic census for, or we can say census or data, socio-economic data for reservation of SC and ST. Although it said that there should be creamy layer, division of creamy layer and non-creamy layer to SC and ST. So this was negated and this was upheld. Okay, then Constitution 103rd Amendment Act 2019, what is it related to?
National Commission for Backward Class.
Economically weaker sections of society, 10% quota was given by the central government. Okay, and again there are petitions in the Supreme Court is still yet to we can say listen to this case, and the case is transferred to Constitution bench again, this particular. Lastly, Jayashree Lakshman Rao Patil versus Chief Minister 2021, this particular case relates to, we can say, Maharashtra government, Maratha reservation, Maratha community reservation. Okay, there are several states which provide more than 50% of reservation in the public employment, which goes against the Indira Sani case. Okay, so this Maratha reservation provided by Maharashtra government through this, let's say there was one act brought in 2021 and that provided for reservation, then it breached the 50% quota, okay, limit that was given in Indira Sani case. So in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court had struck down this one, Maratha reservation. It was struck down and it's upheld the 50% limit given in Indira Sani case. So we can expect that this particular verdict can be guideline here onwards you know this case also, EWS quota. You should know that up till now only social and educational backwardness was considered as the criteria for providing reservation, not the economic or sole criteria of economic. It was not, let's say, considered. The idea you should know that the social and educational backwardness is for centuries, for generations, but the economic backwardness can be for 1 or 2 generations, and later on, let's say, the family, that generation can earn livelihood through other means also. Fine. So GS2 paper, polity part. Okay. Yes. Deepening strategic commitment, Quad summit. Okay. Now, Quad has emerged as stronger and clearer in strategy and goals for security and prosperity of Indo-Pacific. Such kind of statements you can simply directly write in your answers. Okay. And yes, the outcome of present, let's say, recent meeting, India and US agreed to disagree on Ukraine situation, showed full readiness to further strengthen Quad and their bilateral cooperation. Before Quad meeting or summit, it was, let's say, concern that US will have some kind of pressure on India to take stand on Ukraine or something like that. But US and India both have agreed to disagree on Ukraine. This is good thing. Okay, and it has not affected the bilateral cooperation as well as multilateral cooperation in Quad. Then the central driving force of Quad is to counter China's growing expansionism and belligerence. Right? One of the objective is this one only. And the second is cooperation in other areas. At present it covers 9 sectors. You should know which sectors: vaccine partnership and health security, climate action, critical and emerging technologies, cooperation on infrastructure, cyber security, space cooperation, education and people-to-people ties, maritime domain awareness, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. These are the areas. It's not important that you write all 9 in your let's say answer, but you should know 5-6 important areas of cooperation you should write. Okay, now in terms of analysis, we should also talk about the limitations, the challenges, critical analysis. First thing is vaccine initiative. So it has some kind of faced some kind of roadblocks.
Yes.
Okay, it is not able to go forward. यहाँ पे हमने last year decide किया था 1 billion vaccine doses will be provided in Indo-Pacific region, but due to certain reasons, including indemnity clause in India and other trade related, we can say, disruption, उसकी वजह से ये problem में चल रहा है.
Also
requirement reduced, right? Demand reduced in those countries. That aspect is also true. In terms of infrastructure, the Quad, as an outcome of this meeting, had committed $50 billion in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, $50 billion in Indo-Pacific region. Now, most of this amount will go to Southeast Asian or ASEAN countries and other Pacific island countries. But some of this funding should also go to Indian Ocean island nations, because it is part of Indo-Pacific, and that will be more fruitful for India's security concern in Indian Ocean region. So that aspect you can write here. At present that is not clear. Okay. The third aspect you should talk here is related to semiconductors. There was one common statement on principles of emerging technologies, critical technologies, and in that semiconductor supply chains. Semiconductor supply chains is important component, so there will be positive development on this.
So India has also joined hands for this semiconductor with Israel.
Yes, so yes, of course, that is also additional, we can say, aspect in addition to this Quad initiative. Okay, so yes. Fine. So which are the other areas of cooperation? Infrastructure, vaccine initiative, emerging technologies is there. Cyber security is fine. Recently, so maritime domain awareness, I was talking about this. Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness. This was instituted as an outcome of this summit. Okay, there will be sharing of data. Okay, then you should know that in terms of infrastructure, there is one new initiative, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. 13 nation initiative, there will be negotiations on trade, tax and all these things.
Myanmar, Laos and Cambodia, they haven't joined.
Yes, 3 members of ASEAN, they have not joined. Okay, in addition to that, New Zealand and 4 Quad members are the part here. Okay, so all this shows that there is some kind of positive developments happening in these areas. So on one hand, we are engaging in Indo-Pacific region where in a multilateral platform of Quad grouping, which is almost against China. On the other hand, we are cooperating China with these groupings. So recently there was decision to expand BRICS grouping. BRICS grouping. So on this front, India is in line with China. It is trying to cooperate. On the other hand, तो ये यहाँ पे क्या दिखाई देता है? Strategic autonomy in our foreign policy. It shows strategic autonomy in our foreign policy.
By next semester.
Yes. So you should be knowing this example. ये हमें आंसर में लिखना आना चाहिए. Okay. Next, Aryan Khan case. So we all know the background. Need not to go in details of background. Simply we will find out the analysis here. Analysis of this case is that Narcotics Control Bureau, NCB, it is premier agency of the central government, law enforcement agency, and its primary responsibility is to, stop trans-border movement of drugs. Trans-border movement of drugs. And it should not get involved in the drug consumption issue, drug addiction issue within the country. Because that is smaller concern and that should be passed on to police, state police departments. That is responsibility of police departments. When NCB gets involved into that, then politics बीच में आ जाएगा, सब चीज़ें प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है, ठीक है. And it actually dents the image of this investigative agency or law enforcement agency. So it should stick to its primary responsibility objective of, we can say, protecting the country from trans-border movement of drugs here. Second thing is that those involved for, let's say, a motivated probe or false implication, there should be some kind of scrutiny, inquiry against them. Public servants, civil servants. But the important aspect that is discussed is compensation to those who are falsely implication without proof. At present, there is no law regarding providing such kind of compensation, monetary compensation we can say. And therefore, even Law Commission has also recommended that there should be some kind of compensation, and this compensation, right to compensation, should be statutory right. It should be statutory right. At present, some courts on case-to-case basis provide compensation if they feel so, but there is no statutory law or provision. Okay, so that aspect you should know, and Law Commission has recommended this. And there are so many cases of false implication because in India conviction rate is low. That shows there is false implication. Okay, so of course there is harassment of common people. Their, let's say, economic and mental health we can say is destabilized. It is draining of resources to have follow-up, and we can say in addition to that the social stigma, loss of image that happens because of this. ठीक है? Yes. Now, US becomes India's biggest trading partner at $119 billion, surpassing China in 2021-22. According to data with Commerce Ministry, the bilateral trade between US and India stood at $119.42 billion as against $80.51 billion earlier year 2021. Okay, exports to US $76 billion and import $43 billion. Okay, as against to this China, so the trade $115.42 billion, and in terms of export only 21 billion, but imports 94.16. So there is huge trade imbalance. Okay, trade deficit or trade imbalance we see, or trade gap is huge. Here there is less trade gap, rather it is trade surplus. Yes, there is trade surplus here. Here trade deficit or trade gap is there. Okay, so this data you should use in your answer and know for prelims examination. Monsoon sets over in Kerala. You should know simply that what criteria IMD uses is mentioned here. Rainfall is not the only criteria for IMD relies to declare monsoon's onset. Wind speeds of minimum strength and depth in the atmosphere, the outgoing long wave radiation, which is the measure of cloudiness, and rainfall appearing to be consistent and well distributed over Kerala are important criteria also. Then only it declares that monsoon has arrived. तो यहाँ पे पहले जो प्रेडिक्ट किया था उससे 2 दिन बाद, 2 days later, that's why on earlier prediction I told you कि वो हम जब आएगा तब देख लेंगे, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो टाइम पे नहीं होता है कभी. फिर कभी करें, क्योंकि बहुत सारे टॉपिक्स इस अभी कवर हुए एंड ड्यू टू सम टाइम लिमिट्स. अर्लियर वी हैव recently we had covered, but again whenever it is in news we'll again cover.
El Nino reduces rainfall.
El Nino is responsible for negative impact on monsoon, so there is possibility that there will be less rainfall, but not always true. La Nina, there will be increased rainfall activity in India. ठीक है. Center retracts caution on Aadhaar photocopies. So just now we talked about this. Okay, but what is this masked Aadhaar? You should know. Now, an Aadhaar number consists of 12 digits. Masking Aadhaar number means replacing the first 8 digits with some characters like this, while only last 4 digits of the original number are visible. This is masked Aadhaar. Okay, fine. So, what should be answer to this question? Such kind of questions are being asked from economy section. Yes. Okay, so consider the following statement about India's external trade in 2021-22. Data based question, trend based questions, like these statements are asked. Okay, so US surpassed China to become India's top trading partner. So this is true. Then exports to US from India are higher than the exports to China. This is also true. इसको उल्टा भी कर सकते हैं वो. Then imports from China to India are higher than imports from US. ये तो सबको पता होना चाहिए, सबसे ज़्यादा import हमारा चाइना से ही है, ठीक है. Okay, fine. So that's why 1, 2, 3 all are correct. Yes. Any other question?
That is 13th April. We covered and that lecture was on 13th April.
13th April. ठीक है. तो 13th April द हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस यूट्यूब पे वीडियो रहेगा, ठीक है. अगर रिसेंटली अगर वो नहीं कवर होता है तो आप एक बार उसको रेफ़र कर लेना, ठीक है. क्योंकि हम बहुत बार जब भी न्यूज़ में आता है उसको डिस्कस करते सारा ही एल नीनो, ला नीना, एनसो, वो जो एक बार आता है तो मैं सारा कवर कर लेता हूँ, उसको रिवीजन हो जाता है आपका. एनीथिंग एल्स? ओके, लेट अस स्टॉप.